Set. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the roll call will indicate that all members are present. Ms. Coleman is with us by phone. The first order of business is public comments. So if anyone would like to make a comment to the public, we would just ask that when you do step up, please state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to make whatever statement or comment you would like to make to the commission. So are there any public statements or comments? Don't be bashful. No public statements, no comments? Anyone online? Carmen, is there anyone online here to make a comment? No. Is there anyone online to make a comment? Roger, did you want to speak, sir?
Ask me to ask a question. Roger Bunker of 28 Old Village Road.
Would you mind just using that last mic on the end there?
Is this working all right?
Just tap that button.
That one?
Yeah.
There you go. Is this better? Oh, yeah, that sounds a little more of an echo. I'm Roger Bunker. I live at 28 Old Village Road here in Bloomfield. And I guess I only just have a question, which is the timing for the process. If it's still looking to be on the November ballot. Because I noticed from the comments at the last public forum, there were concerns mentioned by probably a majority of the few people who spoke about the timing being fairly quick. And it occurs to me that we're coming up on summer. We haven't revised it for quite a while, so I don't know how extensive the revisions will be. And you have a new town manager who only been around for 3 months by August 24th. So my question really is the schedule. Thank you.
Okay, typically we just receive comments, but I will respond that it's our hope that we will be able to get through the process in time to have questions on the ballot. However, we're not going to rush the process. If that's not possible, then it isn't, and we'll take whatever time is necessary to do the job. But our goal is to try to get it completed by then. No one else? All right, we will then move on to, let's see, review and discussion of comments received by the commission. Hope everybody got the comments that were sent in by email on the website. I guess my hope is that we could incorporate all of those comments and all of the public comments that we have, along with the charges from the town council, and begin perhaps in our next meeting to begin to review those to see if there is any consensus on any changes in any of the sections that we have. There are about 53 sections to the charter. The council has suggested 15 areas that we should review. And my suggestion would be that we try to begin that part of the review at our next meeting, if everybody is comfortable with that.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? All right.
Can I have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Brad Klein.
Brad Klein, is this on?
Nope, just tap the button,
Sorry, what?
the little white button there.
There we go. I've read with interest all the submissions. A little difficult to process, as is the charter itself. But first of all, I appreciate the detail. Bonnie Berkowitz in particular, Robert Ferger, and Kevin Goff struck me as, and there are others that I found interesting. Dave Mann, Bob Berman, I think came to mind as well. It's a little difficult sometimes in making these submissions to know the difference between government structure and policy outcomes. And I think we have to be careful the extent to which some of the proposals might make a leap over into substantive policy as opposed to the structure of decision-making. So I think we just have to be careful about that. And I'm not going to get into a particular critique of any of the proposals at this point, but I certainly appreciate, and I think we all do, the detail and the attention that townsfolk are paying to this process. It took me several cups of coffee to read through the charter carefully. I might also point out that there are some just grammatical and syntactical mistakes and words left out, too many words in. I do that for a living. I edit books, so I kind of pay attention. And we'll make that part of the update and correction process as well. So I don't know exactly how to submit that on the form. The form is pretty forbidding online, and maybe I'll just submit a list of grammatical and syntactical and wordos and typos and so on. But, we take the work seriously and appreciate the time people put into it.
Great, thank you, Brad. Anyone else comment?
Not at this time.
All right. Okay, with that, we'll move on to, let's see, someone else stepped in. Was there someone else from the public? Did you want to make a comment? Actually, that period is over, but if you'd like to make a comment, we certainly want to have everyone have an opportunity. If you could just use this microphone right on the end, that would be great.
And right here then?
There you go. Great.
Excellent. Thank you so
I
very
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for extending some time. My name is Suzette DeBeetham Brown, 25 Fairfield Lanes in Bloomfield, Connecticut. I think and I'll probably say it at every meeting that we have, is that I'm asking the commission to please take the time and attention that this really needs, right? Because we're not going to open our charter every 2 years or every 4 years. So we're hoping that what we do today will last for at least another 10, 12, 20 years. With that being said, I'm asking you not to make decisions based on who's in the room today or based on who's sitting on the commission today. But the decisions that you make, please be very intentional about the future of all of Bloomfield. I know that the charter revision was done, was it 2016, 2014?
Yeah, I think it was.
2014 was the last one, and I know that there were some meetings held, but I don't believe that we've gotten the participation that we should have. In a town of 22,000+ people, you would probably want at least 1,000. And I know we can't force people to come out and participate, but please be very mindful of that in the decisions that you make. Thank you so much for giving me the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I saw that 2 people raised their hands on I guess. Let me have a comment question.
Where do you see those? Apparently, we do have some people
On the
online.
screen.
Can you bring them up? Is that Ava?
Yes, it is.
Ah, yes. Sorry, I missed your hand up there, but please proceed.
Oh, thanks very much. I know it can be very hard to see the hands during a meeting. I will be extremely brief. I just wanted to thank you very much for the invitation to participate. Excuse me. I will actually submit my comments in writing. It would require more time than 3 minutes to actually go through them. Plus, I think that written material then becomes more of a reference that's available to you at any time during your considerations. I do want in those comments to dispel some incorrect impressions or assumptions that I have heard are circulating. And I will do that also in writing, but I urge anyone who is engaging in the process to read the entire charter, not just selected sections, because it's very easy to miss some of the text. I would like to say that libraries are unique among departments as well as public institutions, providing services, support, and guardianship of free speech rights. It's not always easy to balance, but it is critical to any library's core mission for balance to be recognized within the structure of the charter and governance. So with that, I will not continue because I know your time is precious, and I do thank you very much for recognizing me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ava. Could you just give us your address for the record, please?
Sure. 17 Terry Plains Road, right here in Bloomfield.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Allowed to talk. He's out to talk. He needs to
Ken, are you
unmute
there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dwight, and thank you to the members of the commission. Kenneth McCleary, 8 Haviland Road, Bloomfield, Connecticut. I want to just say thank you so much for your service. And also, I've been attending these meetings, and I think at the last meeting, there was a very great comment about the legitimacy of the process by Commissioner Klein. I do also echo and appreciate that you all have the Saturday meetings, and you guys, it seems like you're making every availability to make sure that the community knows about this and is engaged. And I know that our director of strategic communication put together a fabulous website and is pushing communication about the engagement of our residents in this process, and that we can give them all of the opportunities near and far to participate. But if they don't participate, does not mean that the process was rushed or we missed people or they wasn't engaged. It just simply means that they may have conflicting, priorities and or interest. I know we've gone through a budget on a council since November, started the process, make it known, and not 1,000 people come out and talk about something that is going to impact them, so deeply, right? Because it impacts their budget, but doesn't mean that our budget process and what we do as a council isn't important. So I hope as we move forward that the residents who do show up use the opportunity to actually make constructive feedback of what they would like to see in the charter, because I think that would be helpful to you all. I continue to look forward to listening to these meetings and look forward to what you come up with. But thank you for having these Saturday meetings and making it available for the residents of Bloomfield to participate in the process. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Great, thank you, Ken. James.
No, he doesn't have his
Oh,
hand
okay.
up. He's all set. You're all set.
Great.
There you go.
And I noticed a couple of other individuals came in during discussion. We've actually passed part of a public comment, but we certainly want to be available to anyone who wants to make a comment. So if anyone who came in after that would like to make a comment, again, if you would just come up to the microphone on the end, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your comments.
Thank you, Chair. Todd Cooper, 2 Malucci Ridge, here in Bloomfield, and I'd just like to make a quick statement. And thank you to the Charter Revision Commission for allowing me just a moment to speak. And so I'm a proud resident of the town of Bloomfield, and I applaud our efforts to review the charter, the town charter that has not been revised in about 18 years. In the sense that the normal charter revision is done every 10 years. So we're long overdue with this effort. And so in that sense, I do look forward to it. And, you know, the areas that you are focused on, I think, are changes that are long overdue in the sense that we do need these things to be looked at. I am not only a town councilor, but of course, a resident of the town of Bloomfield. And so, you know, to me, it is important that we are up to date, not only with just simply the charter, but where we want to go. And so we want to address those areas now so that they will fit the vision for the future that we have. And so I look forward to that. And I just, you know, look forward to the Charter Commission doing what has been charged. And certainly if there's, you know, anything that I don't speak for all the council, but certainly as a council member that I can do, you know, to assist you in that, to move this thing forward for the people who are depending on the council to do, then yes, I will. And I appreciate it and thank you for your time. Right? Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else who came in after the public comment period who would like to make a comment? No one? Don't be bashful. Now's your time. This is your opportunity. All right, so back to the agenda and just to kind of review for our,
Mr. Chair.
oh, yes, Erwin.
If not now, like an opportunity. No.
Press it.
If not now, I'd like an opportunity, actually, Todd's comments raised a point in my mind, like an opportunity to ask the chair about it. So if I can do that now, that'd be.
Go ahead.
Okay. We received charges from the town council. And it is a great list of categories. Really no, you know, 2 things, really no priorities. You know, there was no like 1 through 10. And no sense of, you know, what's constraining, what about our structure? Because this is really, the charter is really a structural issue. What about our structure is really constraining us in terms of future plans for the town of Bloomfield? You know, what's, to me, that would be very useful information to have. And maybe, I don't know who would provide that, you know, that was the council's document. But maybe there is an opportunity for either the council or someone else to kind of give us a sense of, you know, this provision is really constraining us for the following reason.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't want to put Councilman Cooper on the spot to answer that, and not sure he's in a position to speak for the entire council at this point. But if we have questions of the 15 charges that they presented to us, we can perhaps forward them to the council as a body for any sort of clarification that we might need. But I think the council is looking for us to use our judgment.
Okay.
And to review these items to determine if we think there is need for improvement or need for changes. But if there's something that's unclear that you want cleared up, I think we can pose that question to them for clarity.
Yeah, and maybe it was out of line in terms of priorities, and maybe that's our job. But in terms of what's constraining us, that would be useful information to have.
Okay.
You know, kind of item by item.
Afternoon. Oops.
Lawrence Whittam. I work for Andrew Crumby, part of the Crumby Law Firm. Andrew, of course, is the town attorney. He apologized that he had another commitment. He wanted to be here tonight, well, this afternoon rather. And obviously I can't speak for the council and I can't speak for Andrew, but let me try and address the questions that have been posed and most particularly tie them in with the comments, which I thought were very thoughtful by Commission Member Klein. And that is the difference between policy and structure. And that there's a difference, but they're interconnected. It's like a game of pick up sticks. You can't change structure without changing policy. And what the council has done is under the terms of the statute that controls the charter revision process, is they've set forth for you a set of 15 suggestions. And you're not bound by any of those suggestions. You're not limited by those suggestions. That under the statutory process, once the town council appoints the Charter Revision Commission, that takes the entire charter and opens it up. Everything from chapter 1 through chapter 10, open. You can look at anything you want to. You can restrict things. You can decide that you don't want to address certain issues. The only restriction on you is that you have to respond to the 15 suggestions. In other words, if you're not going to look at it, articulate why. If you disagree with the council, articulate why. And the reason for that is once you complete your final report, it goes before the council. And what they want to do is, if you disagree with them, they want to know why. They want to keep an open mind and look to you to simply say, what did I miss? What did you hear that I didn't hear? What are you thinking? And the question about structure is, to be honest with you, right now, we have a council manager form of government. And the thing is that, as Jefferson used to observe about the concept of rewriting the Constitution, is once you call a constitutional convention, everything is open. And so in this case, you can go to a strong mayor form of government, you can go to a first selectman form of government. You have the freedom to do anything and everything you want to do. And there are big structural issues and small structural issues. Big is, do we change the form of government? Smaller issues are, if we look at, I think it's 503, which is the budgetary process and the town manager. Question is, should the town manager present the current type of budget? Should they go to a zero-based budget? Should they go to a program planning management kind of budget? Questions that may come up are, should the clerk be elected? Should the treasurer be elected? Should the treasurer have investigative powers? Should there be changes to the procurement ordinances? Right now, Bloomfield is somewhat different from its other communities in that you have a long ballot. The ZBA is elected, the zoning board is elected. Do you want to have them appointed or should they continue to be elected? Councilmen serve on 2-year terms. Should they be longer terms? Should they be staggered terms? Recently, New Haven last year approved a charter revision and they made some interesting changes. Their Board of Education serves on a staggered term and they run at large. They changed that. Now the Board of Education will run from districts or wards, as they say in New Haven. And the problem with wards is if you go to a ward or a district system, 2 problems arise. First is there are 5 districts in Bloomfield, and you're going to have to reapportion those districts to make sure the population is equal in each one of the 5 districts. Second is if you go to a district format, it eliminates minority representation. In the current Board of Aldermen, which is the town council in New Haven, there are 30 seats. They're all Democrats. There are no Republicans, no working family party, just Democrats on the New Haven Board of Aldermen. And those are policy choices you're going to make. But every time you make a policy change, it changes the structure. Every time you change the structure, it changes the policy. And so, Commissioner Klein was very insightful that there are two different pieces of the puzzle, but they're so interconnected that you're going to have to think deeply about both. And I appreciate the opportunity of being able to come up and address the commission, because our position is that we work for you, and we want to make sure that we answer every question as you go piece by piece through this. We recognize you're part-time, we're here full-time, and when the mayor calls with a question, we do the research and get the answer. So I apologize, that's a long answer to a short question. Are there any other questions that I can answer for you today?
I don't have any. I would just add that as a part of the process, once we have exercised our judgment and provided the council with our draft of what we think will improve the charter, they will do the same thing. They'll look over our suggestions and our draft, and they'll come back to us. So just because we complete a draft and send it to them, that's not the end of it. They'll review it, they'll consider it, they'll send it back to us. We'll look at it again, we'll consider their thoughts, and then we'll either make changes or not and send it back to them, and they will have the final say.
So, Mr. Chair, I thought I was asking a simple question.
You were. It's a long answer.
I want information. So we got the charges fairly general, but I get nothing in the language in front of me to indicate kind of, okay, what's constraining us in terms of future plans for the town?
Again, I believe what the council is saying is they're not suggesting that the commission do A or B. What they're saying is, we think these are areas that you, as a commission, independent of the council, should review to determine if, in your judgment, there should be changes made. So they're not trying to put their thumb on the scale for one change or another. They're saying, commission, take a look at this, see if this is still relevant. Should we continue to do it this way? And use your judgment to come back to us with a recommendation. Now, if there are errors of just clarification that you just don't understand, I think it's appropriate that we ask for clarification. But they're not weighing in on whether we should or shouldn't do a certain thing. That's up to us. That's our judgment.
I'm sorry. I just want to answer.
Oh, wait.
Please. I'm sorry. I just want to get a little deeper into the answer in the last question. The question of restraints. Now, we talked about the restraints, the relationship between the commission and the council. We need to talk about a separate set of restraints. And that, as Mayor Suggs knows, Bloomfield is one of 169 municipalities. Municipalities in Connecticut are different. Municipalities are creatures of the state. It's a specialized corporation. It's a government corporation, which means that a municipality has no organic power. It has no sovereignty. The municipality can only do what is permitted under state statute or what's consistent with the state constitution. In addition to that, there's a second set of restrictions on the commission, and that is the Board of Education. The Board of Education, going back to Fowler versus Enfield, is different. It's unlike any other agency of the town, because the Board of Education is at one point a state agency, because it's charged with education, which is a state function, and it's also a municipal agency. And so that there is always a tension between the town council and the Board of Education, because the town council controls the budget, but it cannot utilize its budget function in such a way that it impairs or prevents the Board of Education from carrying out its education function. And that goes back and forth and has been for years and years. So when we look at constraints, The third set of constraints are existing contracts. In other words, we have contracts and we've agreed to do certain things. When you amend the charter, it's not retroactive, it goes forward. So any commitment we had beforehand stays. We can't change those. The last set of obligations is personnel obligations. In other words, if you decide that you want to eliminate the Department of Finance, we have people who have employment agreements with the town, and we're going to have to deal with the question of, okay, how do we terminate those employment agreements? But we're conscious of the fact that we can't simply tear up contracts. So those are the constraints that exist. And I'm sorry for the long answers, but I want to make sure that we give you every assistance that we can.
Okay, Brett, did you want to?
Yeah, so Commissioner Turner or Elvin, I don't know how we're going to address each other, but your concern is interesting. First, I suspect that in our duties, we will find less information and more opinion or judgment by people. So my bet is if we were to talk to 7 different people in the town office about what they'd like to be able to do and what they can't do, given our charter, we'd get probably 4.5 different opinions. And I don't think we're going to do any better than that. Which leads me to one question is, do we have any statutory authority to talk to people, or do all of our investigations have to take place in a public forum at a meeting?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, sorry, force of habit, but the answer is you're not the Zoning Board of Appeals. Your function is to reach out to the public. And so there is no record, which means that we're recording these proceedings so that the council can review them and the council has a full understanding of your thinking. If you want to approach people in public or people in public want to approach you, that's fine. I mean, it's like approaching a member of the council. I mean, if Councilman Oliver, he's part of the community. Somebody approaches him on a Sunday afternoon and wants to talk about an ordinance before the council, he's going to talk to them and he's going to listen, and then he's going to bring that back to the other members of the council. All we would ask is that if you have a conversation with someone in the public, at the next meeting, please provide a summary so that when this process is finished and you submit your report, the council has a full record of what the input was, what your thinking was.
And I want to, not let you go, but I want to emphasize that to the extent possible, I would suggest that we have as much public discourse that everybody can see and hear as possible. Now, granted, there will be times when someone will grab you at a diner or something and say, hey, I think you ought to do this or that. But I'm hopeful that all or most of our discussions will take place in public. We can invite people in or have them come in on Zoom so that everybody hears what's going on rather than have 4 or 5 discussions in silos, one-on-one, particularly with employees or members of the administration. So with that, Brad?
I was going to go the other way. I was going to ask if anything you said proscribes us initiating contact during business hours with members, employees of the town on official time. That's the opposite.
Right. And the answer
I'm
to
just
that
curious
is,
if we have that authority or ability.
You have the authority, but what I would suggest is go through the manager. In other words, we have the interim manager, because what we do is that when we're dealing with town agencies, we go through either the mayor or the manager. And the manager in most cases is going to say, fine, no problem, talk to them. But at least the manager knows what's going on.
Okay.
So that the manager is not going to be surprised by saying, the finance department said we don't need a purchasing department. That's news to me.
Right. Thanks.
Can I follow
Other
up?
questions? Yes, Howard.
So what I'm hearing, Mr. Chair, is no private conversations.
Again, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid them completely. People know you, they know you're on the commission, they may have an opinion or a suggestion on a change, and they'll come up to you. As the attorney said, please try to document that and bring it back to the full commission so that everybody knows what's happened. But to the extent possible, I'd like to have all of these discussions in public and open view of the community, so there can be no indication that there's anything toward going on about our deliberations or our discussions.
It's not just a question of tort, it's a question, Mayor, of the notion that you came up with a suggestion that you merge treasury and purchasing, and the council is reading that and said, where did that come from? And the answer is, well, the mayor had a conversation with his neighbor at the diner. And the council needs to know that so they can see, it's like reading a history book. You always look at the footnotes to figure out what's the source, where's this coming from?
Yes, question.
So I'm good with all this. I just want to know the level of detail I need to go into, because I can stop conversations. If somebody comes to me, what talks about the council, I can tell them, I need to report this back. Do I need to report back name of the person? So, I mean, I can see some people who have strong feelings about particular areas and would come to me and say, you need to make sure the council, commission does this. And I say, fine. I mean, I received that. But do I need to, one, say Joe Smo said,
Right.
or do I can say a neighbor or?
The answer is that one of the beauties of the resolution that created the commission is you have discretion, and you're like the members of the town council, and that it's preferable that the record is complete and we know who talked to you. But on the other hand, you have the judgment, you have the discretion to simply say, look, they didn't want my name used, but they came up with this, and the response is, if that's your discretion, that's your judgment, no one's going to get mad at you. I also forgot, sometimes I feel like Columbo, it's that one more thing, is that there's one more restriction on you, and that is the fire districts. And as you know, there are 2 fire districts in Bloomfield, and they're both separate, independent municipal corporations, so that you don't have the authority to abolish them. You can't do anything in the charter to rearrange them, recreate them. You can create an overall fire chief or a public safety director, and there's a provision in the charter now that hasn't been carried out to create a public safety director. But the thing is that you have to be mindful of the fact that these districts do exist and there's nothing we can do about it. The other thing you have to be mindful of is we have regional authorities that we have to work with. For example, town is a member of the MDC. That's a special act. You can't abolish the MDC. You may get mad at them, but we can't abolish them. We're members of CROG, the Capital Regional Council of Governments. They're there by statute, and we can't abolish them. You can't reorganize them. But what you can do is you can set forth policy of how much the regionalization should Bloomfield be engaged in. Should Bloomfield think about pulling out of a regional agency? Should we be sharing resources with other towns? In other words, should we be sharing a town planner with other towns? Should we be sharing the health district we share with West Hartford? Those are all questions that are structural and policy questions that you're going to be asked to think about. And the point is, you can make changes on any part of the charter, or you can simply send a report back to the council saying, we looked at the charter, it's been 14 years, and it still looks good to us. That's totally up to you. And how much detail you get into, that's your judgment too.
Right. Any final questions?
I'm good.
Okay,
I thank you for the opportunity of answering questions.
thank you. Okay, so just to quickly review about our discussion that we will prepare for our next meeting to review those sections of the charter that the council has posed to us. Obviously, we'll continue to receive public input throughout this process. But I think it would be a good exercise to go through what they've charged us with, our thoughts on those sections, public thoughts on those sections, to see if there may be any consensus on any of them, just as a starting point. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
So at our next meeting, we would address the council
Charges,
charges. Are we going to also address the comments that we've received?
Yes, yes.
Can we do the charges first, Mr. Chair?
Well, my thought was that as we go through the charges, we'll discuss those, but there'll also be resident comments regarding some of those that we'll consider as well. So I'd like to consider them together.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right, the next item, by the way, I saw a couple more people come in. Typically, we have all of the public comments at the beginning of the meeting, but I saw a few more people come in. And we do want to provide an opportunity for the public to speak. So if anyone who came in after the public comment section who would like to make a comment, you can still make your comment if you would like. Honey?
Whoever's here for the public comment section, I do have a comment.
Okay, if you would just state your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to comment.
Thank you, Joe. Bonnie Berkowitz, 492 Park Avenue. One of my comments is about comments. I find this has been a great meeting. It's been very informative, but I think it would be helpful if at least at the end of the meeting, we were able to have public comments and not just at the beginning, because I think there was an awful lot of information thrown at us today. And I, for one, really had some questions, had some comments that I might have wanted to make during the meeting. So either public comments at the beginning, public and at the end, or as I do actually in EDC, after each topic, if you feel you have the time. The other thing is the 15 items or sections that the council sent to you, has that been made public?
Yes.
Where is that? Is that on the website, Joe?
I think it should be on the website. and
Okay.
I thought it was made available on the website.
It may be. I missed it, but
It was made available at a council meeting when they voted to send us the charges.
okay. I think this is a very, very difficult process for everybody involved. It doesn't happen that often. And if we really want to have public input, we're going to have to almost spoon feed information to people. And this is one case where I think if that was put out, that these are the 3 items, because that was one of the questions I had. What was council really interested in that they had brought this up and created a commission? So I think if information is given to you that can be made available to the public, whether you put it on the website, whether you do it on Facebook, however you want to do it, I think I think one, it would help to inform people, and 2, I think it would help the atmosphere in the community, because we unfortunately, I think, have gotten a sort of dribble down from the federal and state area. There's an awful lot of paranoia, and there's an awful lot of concern about what's really going on. And the last thing that anyone wants to do is have that happen. We are, as we said, we're the nicest community in Connecticut, and I'd like us to stay that way. Thank you for letting me make a comment.
A great
Thank
idea.
you for your comment. Anyone else who came in after the public comment section? Yes. Again, if you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Marshall Neely, 57 Cliff Mount Drive, Bloomfield. It's an honor to be here and to help with this process. My comment is with regard to Chapter 2, election of officers. And if you refer to Chapter 2, it says, I'll read it quickly. Section 201, nomination and election of state officers, including registrars of voters and such elective municipal officers, boards, and commissions are provided for in this charter shall be conducted in the manner prescribed in the Constitution and general laws of the state of Connecticut, except as hereafter provided. Okay? And so I am here to respectfully request that you consider, hold on, changing the term limits for the registrars from 2 years to 4 years and making it retroactive to January 2023, which means that the election for registrars would take place in 2027. And then thereafter, it would be every 4 years. I did send a letter to all of the council. I never received a response back. I briefly talked about what the registrars do, and there's so much that the registrars do, it would take me more than my allotted amount of time. So I pulled up the Connecticut General Statute, and I printed off 4 copies, in case you wanted a copy. Section 9-189A, 4-year terms for town clerks and registrars and treasurers. Notwithstanding the provisions of Section 9-189 and 190A, any town or municipality may, by charter or ordinance, provide that the treasurer or town clerk of said municipality or the registrars of voters of said town or any such officers shall at the next succeeding regular election for such office and thereafter be elected for a term of 4 years in such event. Such 4-year term shall begin on the first Monday of January succeeding an election for treasurer or town clerk, except as provided in Section 9-187A. So I wanted to give this to everyone to take a look at it, and you can kind of chew on it and decide what you want to do. I believe after talking to several members of the state, on the state level, the attorneys, it would be up to the town, the council, to decide whether or not they're going to vote to change it from 2-year to 4-year. Because according to the state of Connecticut, 4 years is actually allowed. Any questions?
Great. Thank you.
I got one.
Yes.
Why is it a burning issue?
Not burning, but important. Important because now we have, well, the amount of work that the registrars do is more than what people know. Our office is open from 9:30 to 12:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But both the registrars and most of the staff, we're there 5-6 days a week. That's how much work we do to make it flawless and workable for our community. In addition to that, we now have early voting. And with early voting, Secretary of the State, Stephanie Thomas, tried to get just a 4-day early voting. And when it went to legislation, they said, we want 4 days, 7 days, and 14 days. So we're working through whatever the process is, and we're in meetings 2-3 times a week, and something is changing at every meeting. So some type of law, some type of process, it's changing every single meeting.
2-year to 4-year helps that in what way?
It helps it because now we don't have to worry about dropping the ball, someone else comes in, and having to pick it up and try to figure out what's going on.
Got it.
We already know.
Okay.
Okay? Would you like a copy of the statute, or are you all set?
Yeah, if you would leave one there, I'll be sure that everyone gets one. Thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Klein.
Without in any way prejudicing judgment, obviously there's a learning curve and a lot of work involved. I'm a little concerned about the retroactive component. And since we don't have the power to cancel previous contracts, are we allowed to do anything that's proactive like that? Or would that only take place moving forward?
Yeah, I wonder if we could do this just very quickly and very briefly, and we can get into the details when we actually go through that. But I just don't want to hold everyone up. But if you could briefly explain.
Well, I'm asking procedurally, generically here.
I understand very briefly, and thank you for the opportunity. The answer is you can't change a term of office retroactively. You can change it starting with the next election, but you can't go backwards. So you're right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more
I
questions?
think we're all set for now.
Okay.
Now. Anyone else that came in after public comments that would like to make a comment? Okay, so we are all set for our next meeting. Everyone will be prepared to start going through the charges from the council to see if there is any or what level of consensus there are on some of those sections.
And Mr. Chair, we'll have comments from Ms. Butler as well, right?
Yes. All right, the next item is approval of the minutes. We were not able to approve them because of lack of a quorum at our last meeting. We do have a quorum, but there are some revisions and edits that I think Mr. Klein would like to make, so
Yeah, can I,
yes, go ahead.
regarding the notes from the April 18th meeting, in the section of discussion of town council charges to the commission, it indicates no comments made by commission members. In fact, I had spoken up at some detail regarding the importance of respecting a legitimate election, even if there is not full participation. And I went through a list of 60% presidential participation rates of eligible electors, voters. Statewide, it's about 40%. Regional primaries, it's 20%. That doesn't undercut the legitimacy of the election, and I was concerned. So I will find a concise way to present that, to say that the efforts made by the town to include participation should not, should be respected, and should enhance the legitimacy of any proceedings that we undertake.
Great, thank you. So let's begin with the March 23rd minutes. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to read them. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
One correction, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
The minutes say we meet on, I'm down on discussion at the bottom of the page, first page, discussion and possible actions concerning the 2024 meeting schedule.
Oh, yes, right.
First paragraph, it says meetings will be held on Wednesdays, 7:30 and Saturdays. It's actually held on Thursdays.
Okay.
7. And
Okay.
Saturdays at 3.
So is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So move.
Second.
Was Bolton, seconded by Irwin. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. And now for the April 18th, is there a motion to approve those minutes pending addition to the minutes by Commissioner Klein?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. And with that, unless there are any final comments or questions by the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank everyone for attending. Appreciate your participation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for
Thanks.
running it.
I had to figure out on the fly.
Oh, it was fine. I just wanted to, I knew that that wasn't going to float. I'm an old political scientist. I'm an old political scientist and book editor, so.
Oh, where did you teach?
I taught at Trinity, Hartford, and Clark University. And I was actually working under Humphrey Tonkin.